Good morning and welcome all of you, the participants, the panelists, into yet another TeamLease webinar series. We have been doing it for the last 2.5 months, and we have got overwhelming responses. And I would like to thank each one of you who have repeatedly been participating and coming time and again to hear about the implications that has happened across industries post-outbreak of COVID. It's a privilege to introduce the panelists that we have. It's a panelist who have array of experience ranging from 25 plus years into different organizations. And during this time, they've contributed not only to the organizations they have worked for, but also in terms of imparting the knowledge that they have acquired, and that has helped a lot of seasonal folks in their respective careers. So to introduce, I'll take this opportunity to start with our first panelist of the day. Her name is Kavita Kulkarni. Kavita is CHRO of an organization called as Varroc Engineering. She overall has got 29 years of experience. As far as education is concerned, she has done her MPM from SIBM Pune, HR University of Pune, of course. Previous experience starts with one of the big names, Infosys. She has worked with WNS Global Services India, Emphasis, Arvind Mills, and also Alpha Level India Private Limited, predominantly based out of Pune. So that's Kavita Kulkarni for the day. Thanks, Kavita, for joining. And we would look forward to an array of your expertise, your overall views with respect to COVID and its implications on the manufacturing industry. Our next panelist is Mr. Ramhari Kute. Mr. Ramhari Kute is Head of Plant Production, HR and Admin from ŠKODA Auto Volkswagen India Private Limited. He has overall 23 years of work experience. He has done his MLS in Human Resources, General from Mumbai University. He has worked in companies like EEC, VECV, Lafarge India Private Limited, and Maharashtra State Electricity Distribution Company Limited. So it's a mixed bag companies that he has worked with, and it would be a privilege and it would be fantastic to hear from him in terms of his overall expertise and experience. Our next panelist is Mr. Kishor Kenche. Mr. Kishor Kenche is Country Head HR from Brembo Brake India. Mr. Kishor has worked in he has overall 27 years of experience. He has worked in companies like Crompton Greaves, Adore Welding, which is itself is a big name, Piaggio, that he has worked with, and of course Coca-Cola. So if you see from manufacturing to FMCG, it's a wide range of experience that he carries. And thanks, Mr. Kishor, for joining us as a panelist. We all will look forward to hear a lot from you, especially with the varied experience and that you bring on the table. Our next panelist is Mr. Subramanian J. Mr. Subramanian is the head HR for Keller India. This is something which is interesting because he represents one of the other sections, which is construction. And we would all look forward to hear from him. He has 24 years of experience. Again, an individual who has worked in varied companies. He has worked in GE, Philips, which eventually got acquired by Infosys. He has worked in Vodafone as well as in Gati KWE. So from a telecom, logistics, and of course, manufacturing and construction, that's the varied experience that he brings into. So welcome, Mr. Subramanian. We would look forward to hear from you. And I think we would distinctively like to hear from you with respect to the implications of COVID in the construction industry. Definitely. And perhaps post in the road to recovery, what kind of careers that our friends and folks can look after or look for, right? So with that, I think I'd like to start the session today. The theme for the session today is COVID-19 implications on manufacturing industry and the road to recovery. So what is that with business resuming? Putting India back to work will be challenging, of course. How to infuse confidence in employees and resume business operations? What new measures and protocols has your organizations implemented or adopted to ensure a safe working environment post outbreak of COVID? So that's largely is what that first topic is. I would like to first invite upon Kavita Kulkarni, CHRO, Varroc Engineering, to share her views. Over to you, Kavita.
Thanks, Sudeep. Am I audible, clear?
Yeah, you are. Thank you.
In fact, question has been my life for the last 3 months or so. When we say we are putting India back on business, the organizations that we work back on business. But just a little bit about the organization. We are a Tier 1 auto component manufacturing company, about 41 operating plus 2 manufacturing facilities and that are upcoming, and 16 R&D centers across 5 continents. We are India's second largest two-wheeler auto component supplier, and we are the 6th largest in the lighting business. Globally, about 120 billion in revenue and 14,000 employees across the globe. Now, for this question, Sudeep, companies, let me split it into 3. HR practices, the safety measures in order to improve confidence, as well as education. Now, on education, I think with COVID suddenly hitting us, it has been a black swan event. All of the organizations have introduced safety instructions. There are a lot of videos that we have introduced internally. It's a must watch before you enter the premises. There are notices at all the prominent places. There are SOPs that we have prepared. In fact, recently we also prepared like a 3-pager that we provided to all our employees. If at all you or any of your family members do fall prey to the flu, what are the immediate steps that you need to take? So who are the doctors in and around the office or in the zone? The virus is again divided into mild, moderate, severe. What you need to do in case the doctor then prescribes you for a certain test, so on and so forth. So I think on education, most of the organizations that I have spoken to, the HR folks, we've done quite a bit on education. Safety measures come next. So all of us have done temperature checks at the gate. In the canteen, the seating areas are marked. In the buses, with the norm which said 1/3 seating, the number of buses, of course, had to increase. But that was compensated with the fact that we could not really operate 100% for many months. Today, of course, we're working in multiple shifts in order to meet production demand. But sanitizers have been placed in every nook and corner. Whether it's a Xerox machine, the coffee vending machines, etc. And what Varroc did was we also distributed homeopathic medicines to all of our employees. We actually couriered them to all of our offices. And this takes place every month. So it's a dosage and the prescription is provided. So I don't know of how many other organizations would have provided these homeopathic medicines. And apart from that, in the evening, in place of the evening tea, there's also some medicinal kata that has been provided. Now, when you come to practices, that's a third part. When you come to practices, there is this inane fear of punching, when you have the biometric punch. And we completely understand that. So we evaluated alternate punching options. In fact, as I speak right now, there are face readers, there are retina readers that have been placed in some of our offices. And most of the folks are also looking at providing cards where you really don't punch in. Now, Varroc has a motto. Our motto is perform at the rate of change. And it has never been apt, maybe in the last year, but it is so very apt in this particular year, in this year of COVID. For example, we had to send people to Chennai for some work. We had to send people to Aurangabad. So it's not just you book a flight ticket and you send them off, but you have to have buses, you have to have passes, you have to have conversations with employees for their safety. When they go there, when they land, what is it that they have to do, so on and so forth. People go there, they land in Chennai, and what happens is Chennai goes into a lockdown. Now, that is why I say our motto, which is perform at the rate of change, is very, very apt this year. And the flu has forced people to become resilient. It's not that we got up one day and said, oh, we're going to be resilient from tomorrow, but the flu has forced us to be resilient. And on the last point on work from home, in order to infuse confidence in our employees that yes, you can come back and work in the office, apart from the safety measures and apart from all the SOPs that have been provided, there is a continuous demand for work from home. But there are jobs where work from home is not possible. For example, in R&D, where you require some amount of innovative thinking, some interaction. Again, in the plants, work from home, is just not possible. You have to be at the production site. But rosters currently are being followed. So a hybrid remote working is definitely giving some amount of confidence to our employees and making it an enjoyable experience. And lastly, we do have tie-up with some organizations for mental health counseling. It is just a phone, counseling is just a phone call away. So people can dial into that number if they are feeling the need for it. But these are some practices that we have adopted in order to keep the morale of people high and to ensure that there is enough and more confidence for people to come back to work.
Fantastic. I think key points you spoke about the care for the mental health and kind of investments not only in terms of finding some organizations like that, doing a tie-up. I think it's a unique one because I think what happens is it infuses a lot of confidence in employees because they look at employer looking at investing in terms of their health and etc. It also exhibits something which is called as inclusivity for the employees to be to feel good about it, safe about it. And I think the medicine that you said in terms of giving them homeopathic medicine, and it's very uniquely planned. I'm sure there has been a lot of thoughts that has gone, a lot of planning that has happened. And largely to say, post that, I think the execution has been an exceptional one as you narrated it out. Even the travel piece, like you said, people traveling to Chennai, and if there is a lockdown in Chennai, then what is the care that needs to be taken kind of thing. So while business first, but at the same time, it is like business and people first, both focus on both of them. And I think the hybrid model that you spoke about, which gives a lot of people a confidence, is fantastic to hear. Thanks, Kavita. Thanks for sharing that. So we move on to Mr. Subramanian. I would like to hear from you, typical to, I think, the construction industry, and which has its own challenges, of course, and it's spread out. And many of your sites are typically in the B and the C class cities as well. So what has been the implications? What are the things, the measures, the protocols that you have followed to infuse confidence in employees, and what are the steps that you have taken in your road to recovery?
Sure. So it's a good question, but before I start, I will quickly give you an update about what this organization exactly is.
Sure.
Keller is one of the largest geotechnical consulting company in the world. And the area that we operate is in a very niche area. Like you said, we operate we come before the superstructure comes, which means when you see a building, you just see a building and you admire that building. But where we come in is before the building is constructed, the ground has to be strengthened. And that is where we come in. So we are practically everywhere, but people don't know much about us because it's a very, very highly specialized niche consulting business. Now, one of the things that safety in a construction industry is paramount. Globally, we are extremely high on safety. We measure safety. We are supposed to report on safety. Any accidents at the site is taken very, very seriously. So even before COVID struck us, safety was something that we were always very, very high alert on. But with COVID, of course, things changed dramatically. But more than dramatically, it changed rapidly. I mean, even before we could understand the full implications of COVID, we realized we were like, there was a lockdown that got announced and sites were closed. And fortunately, we come under the essential construction sector. So we were not impacted on a very long-term basis. Our sites reopened for business after about a month, but we had a different set of challenges. Now, to start with, when of course the lockdown got announced and out of blue everything was stopped, we were shaken a little bit, but then we came to terms with it. Of course, one part is the safety, the other part is, as you might be aware, the business that we operate essentially comes from sites, which is what you rightly told, and most of the sites are not in those big cities. So they are so people almost felt marooned. They felt there is no way to communicate, there's no way to go back to their homes, there's no way to contact their family. In the sense, of course, they could speak over the phone, but the family was equally concerned, because each passing day they were getting a lot of newspaper articles. The panic was created by the media a lot. So the things turned out to be, we had to first of all manage and calm down the employees to make sure that they are safe and sound. So we made sure that our arrangements are fine. We also may use this golden opportunity to upskill employees. I mean, we realized that, if an employee is going to be sitting and not doing much of work, and his mind, and idle mind's a devil's workshop, like they say. So we use this time very, very effectively to conduct a lot of knowledge sharing sessions online. So we would get the employees to log in. Each product, we had detailed sessions. So employees did not feel they were wasting time or they were doing something unproductive, but we gave a message: this is the right time to, increase and upskill yourself, gain all the knowledge that you wanted. So we did some soft skills training. We did, and I think there was Kavita has wonderfully put, one of the areas that we realized was mental health. So we did some sessions on stress management and things like that. So that is one part of it. And as far as the safety measures goes, obviously, we also had a lot of global leadership talk. So not only did we have, because this is a pandemic which has impacted the whole globe. So it's not like only India is struggling with it, but the entire world is struggling with it. So we had a lot of leadership talk, which was from the Globe, which is our parent company, is headquartered out of UK. So a lot of webinar happened from our leadership team from the UK to reassure the employees that the company is right behind them. We had webinars from our APAC team, and of course we had the local management, which also did a lot of webinars. So that is one part of it. The whole idea was to reassure the employees that this is a tough time, but we're all right behind them. The second thing, of course, the usual safety measures, which I think Kavita has already spoken about. I'm not going to repeat. A lot of that is something that we've done. Like, each India is unique because we have this, what she was telling is ŠKODA. We also have something in South that, it's a herbal drink, but, it is supposed to build up the immunity. So we had that being sent to our site. So we did everything under the sun possible. All the sanitizers, people have to wear gloves when they're at the site so that when they touch the equipments are sanitized repeatedly. So there are a lot of measures that we took. And then when sites, people stay in guest houses, we have company guest houses, and then making sure that everything in the guest house is sanitized, disinfected. So a lot of work. Most importantly, we also have something called the labor camps, where we have a huge amount of labor that comes and works for us on the ground. So making sure that they are educated in the local language, they understand the impact and how important it is to maintain hygiene, how important it is to sanitize their hands. So a lot of work happened in that area. So fortunately, we've been good so far. Of course, we had about 4 cases in our organization that were COVID positive, but we took measures and we made sure that those cases don't go beyond 4. So fortunately, we've been able to control that very, very well. Yeah.
Sure, fantastic. So I think you picked up a very important point, which was basically to skill people. I mean, this period is looked after as an opportunity from the organization that utilize it in a remote way, but skill them and make them go through what probably they would have not gone through.
Yes, in
So
a normal
that's
course of business.
utilization of time. And another thing is that the staffs also felt that I think there is a sense of belongingness from the organization, and they're investing on the skilling piece. How has been the planning and execution of it? How much time do you think it took to plan, and how did you guys implement it?
So initially it takes you a little by storm because, when, see, we are in construction, we're not an IT company. And in a construction company, e-learning, learning on the web is new for people, and IT companies are used to this. This probably is the way they operate by and large, but not construction companies. And so the first step was for us to understand, how are we going to execute it? But once we decided that, this is the best way to engage with our employees, we of course planned what kind of courses, what kind of people need. We had a detailed agenda around it. What are the technical courses we need to cover people on? What are the soft skills trainings that we need to cover people on? What are the other online courses as options which are available in the market, which probably we could endorse people on? Since we were starting off in this journey, we did not we started off, fortunately that was also a time when a lot of organizations were offering free courses online. If you remember, in the last few months there were a lot of organizations which have offered. So we said, just to make sure that we don't invest and then nobody enrolls for it, we found out a list of free courses that are available, including from Harvard. So we shared those list of free courses with the employees, asked them to say that at least one course per week, please try and complete. So a lot of this work happened. Now we are slowly, people are getting used to this virtual world. People are getting used to the fact that I might not just go out, walk up to that person and talk to him, but I have to find a way to connect with him on a video conferencing. And now this acceptance is happening. In some way, I think it is good, because COVID forced us to automate more than, faster than we assumed we will automate. So that is something. And COVID forced us to think out of box. I think these are the two, if you look at it positively, these are the two positive things I would take from the COVID pandemic.
Fantastic. I think that's the positivity, and thanks to you for sharing that. Okay, I'll move to, I think, at this point of time, to interesting companies who are part of the auto, and we have heard about the impact in the auto industry, and these organizations are strong organizations. These are organizations who have got strong foundations, and I'm sure there has been a lot of reactions and planning to that as well. So I think the first, I'll go to Mr. Ramhari Kute. He represents ŠKODA Volkswagen. Mr. Ram, what has been the situation at your end? What are the steps that has been taken in a road to recovery? What is that ŠKODA is planning right now?
I think, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. I think Mr. Subramanian and Mr. Kulkarni already covered most of the precautions taken during COVID-19 situation. And this is more or less similar in most of the companies. What we did differently is that once we
Sorry, your voice is breaking.
Lockdown, the day one, we headed under leadership managing director. So today, what are the circulars coming from government and what are the guidelines? And based on that, we have formed internal committees again to draft safety procedure manual during COVID-19 situation. At the same time, we have passed on the instruction to the directly colleagues below the line. Hello?
Yeah, I think your voice is cracking.
All right. Okay. So we have given connected with all the colleagues, roughly all across the plant, and we have formalized the teams who get connected with these people on a weekly basis and get update how their health is and all, so that we should be connected. They should not be disconnected from the business. So when regular course of time, some people went to their native places, they didn't turn up or something like that, but our touch was continuously with them, so that whenever they come to plant, they should not feel that they are coming out a long time or they are missing something like that. So we didn't face any problem because we have everything in place, like the safety procedure manual, 60-point manual was made, and it was helping us to formalize the document and all. So that's a major because we are already connected. We have a bit of the confidence. What measures we are already communicating them. What are the measures we are taking in plant? How plant is safe right now? Now how they are safe if they come to plant. So we didn't face any problems as such. And when they come in a plant, at that time again we have formalized the service center wherein one doctor and one HR colleague is always available on the phone, wherein people can call and ask any queries related to COVID, because a lot of news comes in the newspapers or media, and they carry a lot of misunderstanding in that. So we used to communicate them that talk to doctor, talk to HR colleague, talk to our psychologist for any help or support. But we get in touch with us. So that built up the confidence of the people. So I think that is a major thing for all of us. People come frequently. We didn't face any manpower issue from the day one, because everything was on and people are confident to come to plant. So I think that's a major difference than others, what measures we have taken other than this. Hello?
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Kute. Thanks for sharing that. Mr. Kishor, on the same lines, yeah, you have to unmute yourself.
Our medical team contribution, and just I want to, boost your moral. Okay.
Yeah. So, Mr. Kishor, the question which I think on the same topic, post-outbreak, I think, we were all taken into a situation where we had, I think the first few weeks, not very sure what to do kind of thing, right? So immediately after that, and what's the kind of things that Brembo Brakes did? And the most interesting part is in the road to recovery, with respect to business, with respect to employment for the existing employees, and of course they are concerned about their career, longevity of their career, and what's the work that was given to them during the lockdown period. And now, how do you see your organizations getting into the trajectory of road to recovery and etc.? Your views.
Yeah, thank you, Sudeep. First of all, thanks to TeamLease and to especially you, because this is a great opportunity for us to share our knowledge to each other. So I will break this in two parts. These actions we have considered, you can say right from the declaration of lockdown, which I'll go back right from in Maharashtra on 22nd of March, and then post lockdown. So what we did is, as you rightly asked, I'll differentiate about two things. One is that employee safety, and other one is business continuity, or how you look forward, business relations with the customer. So from day first, the communication. So it was three-way communication. One is that employee communication, second is customer communication, and third is legal authorities also, local communication. So I'll make it in such a way, because right from beginning, the moment it was locked down, so we kind of issued a general circular, as to what is circular says and what we are going to do it. And then every week we used to send a flyer or communication to all of us, to all the employees. That means, and then we have had a couple of teams which were based upon Delhi, because we have a plant in Delhi, we have a plant in Pune and Chennai. So at all three locations, we had strong communication within employees, not only to permanent, but all 1,200 people had broken into the various groups, and including HR. Everybody was a HR buddy during this period, before post-lockdown, during lockdown, and everybody was in touch with at least alternate day, asking them, how are you? Because some employees were stuck up here, some employees wanted to go back to their place, some employees, did not know what to do. And for your information, some employees were stuck up in Chakan and they did not have food to get during this lockdown period. So one team was completely serving food from canteen to their respective locations. So in a way, we had a very good communication with the employees in terms of understanding what they wanted, how they are situation. If it is a family situation, we supported them with passes if they wanted to go to their native places. So one part is this. Second part, very importantly, is to communicate our customers. Like we have a major customers like RE, Okay, and then we have Harley Davidson, and then obviously, I mean, Bajaj Auto also. So 3 majors, and then obviously Yamaha, Suzuki, okay, because we are into the braking systems, okay, and this is a braking system. We have 4 businesses. One is that braking system for cars, braking system for Formula cars, so like Ferrari and Lamborghini, and third business is BU motorcycle. So we are a part of BU Moto. So we are part of BU Moto. As India and China, we have 5 plants all put together. And one is, holding company of Brembo India is in China. So continuously in touch with and getting, updates from China. Fortunately, what happened, I mean, we have a plant in China. We well in advance, I think if I'm not mistaken, February only we got a information about this COVID. And we were completely, ready for this kind of this thing from, headquarter point of view. So we used to get a very updates, very detailed updates. And we were kind of, ready by the time, 16th, 17th of March, we were kind of ready. So second is that we were communicating to the customers in a way that how many people are in town, that means in Pune, how many people have traveled to their own place, okay, how many people are, whether somebody, their family or somebody's, COVID positive or what. So this information we are sending to the all, including Suzuki, Hyundai, Yamaha, all these customers, okay, we will send this information. Third is that simulation. So normally we used to have a quarterly, India country committee meeting and monthly India review meeting. However, during this period, we were in continuously touch. Every week we were in touch with our headquarters and taking some kind of, support from them. So, and then support in the terms of legal support, I'm talking, communicating customers as to, which, clause to be applicable, made applicable, what is, legal implications, and kind of taking in confidence of them. So this way 3-way communication was doing before lockdown. So after lockdown, obviously, what we worked basically onto 4 parameters. First is about business disruption, I will talk. So what we thought of, we have an annual budget. So what we calculated, what is the disruption is happening. So by this time, we are already 26% down, you can say. But when we started on 4th of May, we were almost 40% down as regard to the budget concern. However, thanks to the, what we call it, our new employees and all, we could recover this, and now we have almost reached, recover this 10% last to, 25-30% as on today. So we kind of calculated, what is the, backlog. Then what we did is, then we discussed how we'll recover it. So we broke down this, planning to week-wise and month-wise, obviously with customer. And then we had a kind of recovery, schedule. So during this, along with the employees, we also supported to our suppliers. Because sometime, because we are in, not in PCMC or PMC area, we are in rural area. However, some our suppliers are in zone of, municipal corporation. So them we given a support, writing to the commissioners that because he don't supply, then we cannot, produce us. So at least 4 or 5, our suppliers, we kind of given a passes. We helped them because our whole team was sitting there. And I think, if I am not mistaken, Chakan area, we started on 4th. The moment there was a relaxation, we started with 100 people, then next week 200 people, then next month it was 300-400 people, and now we are running at 90% capacity of 1,100 people, and alone Chakana, plus Chennai around 100 people, and obviously Manesar we have less than 100 people. So we had a kind of continuous communication with them, and we kind of help employees to brought in from their own place, because we could not brought people from outside state. However, people within state, we made a transfer arrangement for them. So we worked on that 4 parameter which I was telling you. That one is that employee communication, obviously. Then second is supply chain stabilization. As I said, we have 45 suppliers all over India, but especially we focused on Pune-based suppliers. Those were in trouble. And then I told you about customer engagement. So we had a continuous contact with customers, updating them how many people are present, how many are where, are the location wise. So, and then week-wise planning, how many are available this week, next week, next to next week. And then we were kind of checking, okay, financial element as well as to, okay, and then we have bifurcated. I mean, our budget, okay, especially we had a lot of expenses made on COVID expenses. So with the help of corporate, we made it very separate stream for COVID expenses. And then most important is leadership alignment, because we, as I told you, within India here, we have a very, small organization, but maybe, CFO, CEO, myself, purchase head, and MD. Okay. And then kind of alignment with our corporate as well. So we were continuously updating them the situation, and they were very kindly enough to provide all support as regard to the global okay, know-how. Then what we have done is, I mean, definitely, then most important is that obviously employee protection, which was happened post-lockdown. So apart from this, all the measures what we discussed, I mean, by Kavita and all, we also made an arrangement, like there was a lockdown in Chennai on 6th of July. So from 6th July to I think June to July, for 1 month we kept all the employees in our Hiranandani. There's a big complex near Veerabhadra. Yeah. So all employees there, and we made a very, very meticulously 1 room, 2 people. So irrespective of kind of this thing, we made an arrangement. And third is, I mean, fourth, what very important, that we have customers at 3 locations, okay, north and east, west, and then we definitely south. So we have fortunately all 3 plants near to customer. So we called customers also. We had continuously meetings with them, and we were kind of updating them. So there were definitely, I mean, there were challenges. Okay, there were challenges in between monitoring with the local authorities, and then because we, as being 100% compliance agency, we never wanted to be across any legal obligations and guidelines. So, however, it was so smooth, to be frank, because we had at least, I think, 45 minutes. I do note down. So this communication, various levels of communication, and definitely we had all the arrangement, like every day replacing mask and everyday sanitization. Okay, but however, and leaders at front, the first, I mean, when our plant manager, our CEO, myself, were there to address these people. So that is how the confidence was built in between within this organization. So we have a track record, like how many people we have contacted, how many people. So at a time we used to contact and call their parents. Okay, how we are safe. And obviously then there was an advisory, issued from my side, I mean, what do we do's and don't do's. Okay, this all, so, I mean, and this is not alone HR I'm talking about. But to tell you very frankly, HR was very important, key functions, and it has played a role in terms of even, I mean, whether sales or it's a marketing or it is a purchase or it is operation. We were the key element as regard to the communicating customers, like sending formats to the Yamaha and Suzuki. We were the people authenticated. I mean, how many people are there? So this way, and obviously, I mean, we also supported, like I supply chain. I said that I mean, some people do call me. Even post-lockdown, some people called me how to, get passes and also. And this way, I mean, we could, I mean, come up with a situation, and we are at around 85% as well.
Fantastic. I think it's like leaders delivering it from the front or exhibiting. I think that's important, because I think we have, as I speak, we have close to 165 people who are listening to us, who are watching us. And I'm sure many of them are in the mid-career level as well. I think what you said is a fantastic example of coming forward and delivering, right? I mean, be a part of planning as well as same time delivering as well. And I think what got my attention a lot into what you said is, in the road to recovery, I think hitting to that 90% capacity, like operating at 90% capacity, and while some of the locations that you have factories are very badly hit, but yet I think ensuring that employee safety, instilling confidence in them, infusing that element of belongingness and getting them to work, and hitting to 90% of your capacity, which is post outbreak of COVID, is phenomenal. I think it's a huge thing. Great. So I think one of the other thing with the outbreak of COVID that happened is what we discussed. The another thing was with respect to reverse migration, because I think that picked up
This is
uh,
working.
that picked up initially as a topic, and then we started seeing the impact of that as well. Some of the stories that we heard were uh, something which would have made you feel really sad and bad in terms of the fact that the agony that they had to go through. But having said that, uh, I'd like to ask all of you a question, which is with respect to the fact that uh, government is working with close to around 116 districts today, and there's a scheme which is in terms of creating formal jobs for them in the rural industries. Now, if that happens, the people who have gone back now, there are people who have come from the rural districts to the main cities, like the examples of Bombay, Pune, Bangalore, Chennai, and etc., from the rural districts to work, because that's where employment was. Now, if government comes up with this 100 or rather has come up with this 116 districts and is trying to create jobs at the rural sector, uh, would you not face shortage, or the industry not face shortage of employees? Because if there is a job which is closer to the home, or if they get a job where they can stay at home and actually work, right? Why would they take trouble to come to the city and do a job? So, Mr. Subramanian, your
Yeah,
views.
sure. So I think you raised a live nerve because we survive because of the a lot of people that migrate from some of these, and we have specific catchment, especially Bihar, UP, and there are a lot of people that come and work with us, and so there are two paths. One is my personal opinion. I personally, as a human being, as a citizen of this country, I think it's a great idea, because it is important that if people find livelihood near their place of their where they were born, I think it's a great thing. However, there is also a practical element of it. Whether that idea, it's an idea today, it's not from the time this idea, the gestation period is going to be exceptionally long. It's not like you float this idea today and tomorrow businesses will flock to these locations and there will be enough of employment opportunities. It's not going to happen like that. Even as we speak, a lot of the migrant laborers come from agricultural backgrounds. There were times when they would go back, they would do their agriculture, but it's a seasonal business, so eventually they do find their way back into the cities to do other jobs. So my personal opinion is, while it's a great idea, but the gestation period for that idea to become a reality is going to be an exceptionally long and a very, very difficult journey. It's not like a journey, because this is not just the government that's a stakeholder. There are a lot of other investments that needs to be happening to enable this idea. So I feel that the gestation period for this idea to become a reality is going to be a long time. And I'm also hoping and praying that, we've realized the power of migrants. It is, let us be very honest about it, that, sometimes we were probably taking their contribution to the society for granted, but now not anymore. I think we've really realized how important they are to our ecosystem. And I think a lot of now, as not only our organization but a lot of other organizations will be a little more proactive in making this whole, bringing them back or welcoming them back into the cities. We're going to make it more attractive, and I think we will figure out a way. If you ask me, do you have an idea immediately? No, because I know for sure that this is the time when they need to go back, see their family, and we're okay with it. But over a period of time, obviously agriculture is a seasonal business, and there will be definitely, once the COVID panic dies down, once all these false alarms get over with, once organizations assure them that COVID is a thing of past, the vaccines have come in, things are going to go back to what it was earlier. That is my personal opinion. Yeah.
Okay. So you mean, so in your views, the initiatives that government has taken are definitely very important and interesting. But having said that, scale could be a challenge, and hence you
Yes.
might have a larger sector of people actually get back to the city
Yes.
and
This is my opinion.
sure,
Yes, that's true.
sure. Kavita, what's your view?
Yeah, so just a couple of points to what Subbu just mentioned. It is, if you look at the revenue outlay, that our finance minister actually had provided. Initially, it was about 61,500 crores, and then there was another 40,000 crores that was added. And when I read those articles, all of us freaked out, me included. But then there is, it very clearly mentions it's for about 125 days, that all the migrants who move back will be provided with not just jobs or work, but they will be provided with unskilled work. Now, the people that we employ not necessarily are all unskilled labor. We have a few people who are highly skilled. We have people who have worked in our plants on and off, and they have a certain skill that they carry. So I don't know how many of them would want to go back into unskilled labor opportunities, though it is closer to their homes. More than the scheme, the worry is the fear. They don't want to come back because they're like, I want to be with my family. Family is more important to me than just my livelihood. So I will be there and let it kind of calm down. There has been another set of employees who have just not left. The migrants are still back in town. And I remember when we just started going live, these were the folks who came back to work very voluntarily. They were very motivated. And of course, all of us provided SOPs and we provided incentives to these folks because they came back to work. So I'm not so worried about the scheme. As Subbu rightly mentioned, it will take time, to actually get into the flow. But given that this scheme is very limited just for 125 days, I would say it is temporary. So nothing that the industry cannot really overcome. And we do have folks who are kind of coming back. We were, as I said earlier, we were able to manage it before because none of our factories were working completely 100%. A few of us, our industries in the north and a few of them in the west did work, but we didn't really work 3 shifts. But now, are we feeling the pinch? Yes, we are feeling the pinch. Are they coming as priority 1 in all of the morning meetings? Yes, it is a topic of discussion. And as I said, we don't have an answer right now, but we are taking each day as it comes. Different schemes are being propelled. Can we take trainees? We also want continuity of service. Can we have folks who are diploma holders and also diploma holders? With all of these, the exams that are being postponed, we are not getting them to work. They're all waiting for their exams to get completed and then they will come in for their internship. So there seems to be a hurdle at every step, but I think just like, you have this poem when we were all young, Incy Wincy Spider climbs up the wall, down comes the rain and washes the spider out. And he climbs again to build the web. So I think that kind of resilience is what the pandemic has definitely taught us, but I'm not so worried about the scheme. I think it has, there are issues more that we will have to deal with, the confidence and the safety measures that we provide to our employees for them to really rush back to work in the metros.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, Mr. Kishor, what are your views? Because essentially it happens that each of the factories that you have, predominantly, as you mentioned, Pune, Manesar, and in Chennai, there's a good quantum of people who actually are migrant workers who come from the neighboring districts, right? And they have been like the backbone. Like if we talk about an e-commerce company, I think the people who deliver food are the backbone. Yes. Similarly, for manufacturing companies, these kind of people are the backbone. Now they're sticking back to their native. So they've gone back to their native. If they stick with the job there and don't come, how it's going to impact? And what do you think organizations like you should do to kind of instill confidence for them to come back and work?
Yeah. So I'll just start from the question where it ends. So whether whether you feel scarcity of the manpower, answer is very obvious. Yes. However, in a location called Chennai, what we did, maybe it is a new plant for just 2 years old. So we fortunately, all the employees are local people, first of all. So locals basically are very highly qualified diplomas and are from Chennai. So if you ask me about Chennai, the answer is no. Okay. And the customer which we are supplying also, they are not running at 100%, you can say, more or less. So as customer demands is also, drops down. So we are managing with people. There is no problem at Chennai. However, I am now thinking different way. There are excess people in Chennai, and so I am getting, back here in Pune. How Pune plant, obviously, it's a big plant, and we definitely have problems and issues. But if you ask me, I was percentage-wise, more or less, not more than 10 to 15%, you can say, this impact. Unfortunately, we have a little manpower fluctuation. This is only 10-year plant, so okay, number of temporaries are more. So what we did it, I mean, this was a definitely big question mark and issue. While we were speaking to all people, I mean, it was, as rightly said, Kavita, that every parents or everybody wanted to be at their home. They are not, don't want to risk their life. Okay, more important is their family and their life. So over the period, I think last month, then I had to take a call and get a replacement of these guys, because around 200 people I have recruited in June and July, and still another 140 people requirement is there for this month as well. So because there was obvious reason, whatever people, at least I think we could
which is a great news. I'm sorry, but I'm pausing you because I think I'm finding it extremely interesting. In your all views, you have been able to give figures. So as we talk, we have close to 170 participants who are listening to us. I would request all of them. Yes, I could see your questions. I would request each one of you to be a little patient and hear our panelists, and we will pick up those questions and hear carefully. Mr. Kishor Kenche is talking about adding close to 200 people and another 140 people, which means that there are opportunities for all of us, and there are opportunities for all the job seekers who are looking for jobs as well. Yeah, Mr.
I have a complete data day wise. If you can share this my screen as well. So I tell you, yesterday, the 17th, we had a 12 people batch. On 16th, we had 11 people batch. On 15th, 11 people. Likewise, right from June onward, we have recruited so far, 90 people in June and 98 people so far in only July. And these all are minimum graduate, or diploma or graduate, not less than. So, I mean, it is not an easy task, to tell you very frankly, because we are running out of all the colleges, in around Pune, in Nagar, Baramati, and today also we send up gate passes to all employees. From Baramati, there's one bus is coming out. So it's not an easy task, to be very frank. But as I said, I mean, I don't know. I mean, customer demand is increased from this month onward. We never expected. I mean, so it has been increased at least 30% more. And obviously there are challenges on shop floor also, because our workstation has to be split to maintain a social distance, and the cycle time has come down. So my manpower requirement is gone. So there is enough challenges, but we have not stopped it. I mean, we are recruiting it. I mean, my whole team, and at least 7 people. One team is coming from Baramati. Somebody is gone to here at Chakan, I mean Talegaon area. So we are recruiting people, and around 180 people so far in June and July we have recruited. We didn't have any option otherwise. People going, sitting back somewhere in Nanded or somewhere in Vidarbha, they cannot travel, and we cannot bring for 1 or 2 people from all the way from there to here. And 30 people are throughout Pan India, North India, South India, East India. I mean, many people are in Assam, from Assam and Kolkata. So I mean, West Bengal, I mean to say. So we cannot bring them, though. I mean, they are willing to come. It's very difficult for us to So, but I mean, we have a space for these guys also. We said, I mean, no issues. I mean, let us know what best we can do it. Because out of state people, really, I can't help. However, so far temporaries we are recruiting. These are training kind of people. So maybe 1 year traineeship we have, and then we are recruiting these people. About government scheme, I'll say, I mean, yes, I mean, at government, I mean, they are doing their level best. However, I will still feel, I mean, this is not enough, because there's a mismatch of requirement. There is a mismatch of skill. So what kind of, industries would have at, district level, I really don't know. What kind of, people available there are a different level. So maybe, I mean, I would personally feel there is a mismatch. And fourth important thing is what kind of salary they will offer. So, with this 3 perspective, I mean, obviously, I mean, it is a good scheme and government is trying their best. However, how much, feasibility, I mean, they'll have to calculate at the end of the day, because of the limitation of, demand and supply is more. And fourth, I mean, from my perspective, I mean, people going at native, and there's a lot of, COVID is spreading. So this is, I don't know, I mean, I don't have much, knowledge on that perspective, but definitely from industry perspective, I mean, what I feel is this.
Sure. Mr. Ramhari, your views on the government scheme and will it hold back the migrant workers in their rural districts, and that will lead to a serious shortage of such workers in the prime cities, in the metro cities, the cosmos cities?
I do agree with the opinion of panelist. Reason being that definitely it will affect little bit, but right now we are working on one project, and our project people are mostly migrant people. So roughly around they are having different skill set which is required for that project, and they are mostly from West Bengal, Bihar, and Uttar Pradesh. So we are in touch with them, and they went back, but they don't want to stay over there. They want to come back. That's also a different scenario because of transport arrangement. And right now, the availability to come out because of COVID is become difficult. However, till date we have brought in 300 people back, and as a government rule, we need to keep them under 14 days quarantine. So we have conducted test for them. After doing test, we have created quarantine zone inside the plant. We have kept them inside for 14 days. We have asked them to work inside. And like that, we are going ahead with this, right? Recently, we are coming with the shutdown, wherein we need these people to complete the shutdown work. And I don't think so that it is not going to happen. It will happen, and people will come back definitely, and it will settle back to the normal situation after some time. Reason being that though the government will come up with the initiatives, but initiatives sustenance is, we cannot guarantee of the sustenance of any initiative, and the wages they getting over here are quite higher than that whatever they will get at villages. So I think getting the data, if you look at the data of people coming back, was showing indication that it will come normalcy once COVID come to normalcy. We expect some vaccine within short span of time, a couple of months. I think everything will get normal, and I don't think we'll face any problem in terms of migrants. Luckily, we don't require any migrant because we have full manpower on permanent role, and we do have our own manpower. We don't have any migrant working with us. But however, we have some projects wherein the migrant people are working. And what the panelist said is right. The skill set is a big challenge. This skill set is not available in Maharashtra also. So we'll definitely face shortfall of the people if they didn't turn up. But I am a little bit optimistic on that. The people will definitely come back, and we can bring a normalcy within a couple of months' time once COVID situation gets normal. Yeah.
Sure. So I think there are two more interesting questions which I would like to bring into, and this would be a little varied because I think investment in technology and of course into digital wave is very important. So the question which is for all of you is with respect to manufacturing, do you see that manufacturing will be a choice of employer for the IT professionals in the coming years, or in post-COVID scenario? There will be a lot of opportunity for IT professionals also. And this predominantly because of the investment that the manufacturing companies would do in digitization and of course the digital networking. And I think there is a shift happening from what was usually called as a masculine industry to a more of mind industry, of an intellect industry. And because it is so, a lot of IT professionals who predominantly today probably find an Infosys, Wipro, TCS as probably the destinations to go and work would be looking forward to Brembo Brake, Varroc Engineering, and probably ŠKODA, and of course Keller to come and give their expertise as far as technology is concerned. Your views on this. Kavita, we will start with you.
So absolutely, I see the choice of students will definitely change in the priority listing that they have to join organizations. All these years when you go on campus, usually IT rules the roost. Also maybe because of the learning experiences that they have. But as you rightly said, these are very unprecedented times, and the organizations and people across geographies are dealing with these challenges that is related to the pandemic. But it has also pushed businesses to accept this pandemic as a catalyst for technological change. And I also saw a note from Ashish Kakre in the comments section. So technology will definitely help amplify the resilience from such kind of events. Now, if I look at the investments, we too have budgets, and we have a pre-COVID budget and we have a post-COVID budget. But if you look at the changes that have happened in the post-COVID budget, there hasn't been too much of reduction or deduction. There may be a postponement, yes, but the investment budgets in Industry 4.0 or whether it is robotics, they have definitely been maintained. Not only that, but we also see a small team of experts being put together under the manufacturing excellence division. Not only industrial engineers, but we also need a lot of people within IT who will then become a part of this larger IT revolution that we are talking about in manufacturing companies. So it is not that we've planned to become resilient by automation. We're actually pushed into investing and riding this wave of technological change. So not just people in campuses, but I also see people within the organization coming and asking HR, is there anything in analytics, for example, or is there anything that we can do on the shop floor as far as, using robotics or Industry 4.0? Are there any more projects that we can take up, so on and so forth? So the human mind is also undergoing, I would say the importance of the human mind is so very important, because the data that all of this digitization is going to drive, you will require professionals to be able to analyze this data, and not necessarily that I will only go to campus and hire, but even folks internally can be given the opportunity and are given the opportunity to use their analytical skills in order to make data-driven decisions.
Fantastic, fantastic. Mr. Ramhari, your views on the digitization and the investments on part of ŠKODA and otherwise in the and of course post-COVID, what's the changes with respect to plans?
Yes, I don't think COVID has changed any as such our change in terms of IT as a project in ŠKODA, because recently we have formalized one special department under the software development department for the manufacturing setup in car industry. And we are already in project stage before COVID only, and we are bringing a lot of robotic machine automation in the plant process in certain areas. And definitely our IT department size is going up day by day. So it indicates that definitely the coming days are challenging, and it is not a COVID which is forcing us to go for the IT or digital transformation. It is a normal way also, because of life is changing and we need to be, people are demanding artificial intelligence in the vehicles also. Like recently MG Motor brought in car, which is sold out mostly because of some items which are more related to IT. So IT is very important key element in the day-to-day business nowadays in our company, and they are instrumental in all processes, because now everything is moving to IT, and that's a definitely big challenge as coming ahead with this. But definitely skill set to maintain that setup is again a challenge for all of us. But I think overall the digital transformation is going to happen, though somehow it has put a break because of COVID situation. The balance structure of the company is a little bit disturbed. But we have already planned investment in a digital transformation of plant, and that will go ahead. So being a ŠKODA, Volkswagen, we have a strategy from top, but overall Europe also get affected, overall our business get affected, but our focus on IT transformation continue. Irrespective of COVID or not COVID, but we'll definitely go ahead with this process. That's if I talk about ŠKODA Volkswagen.
Sure. Mr. Kishor, what element of digitization on the shop floors, and how do you think in the coming months that's going to increase with respect to the shop floors, and of course social distancing? How digital wave or digitization has actually played a role in terms of ensuring safety, social distancing, and at the same time in terms of what you call as the practices or the protocols at the shop floor?
I think for us at least, or maybe it's coming to big way, to be very frank. Okay, because we some time back we starting from HR process. If you ask me, I'll start with my operation. So one of the plant is already under Industry 4.0, Poland plant. We are already doing for last year to couple of plant in Italy, and very soon our Chennai plant will come under Industry 4.1. So it means that, I mean, we have already started this technology bringing in. When Industry 4.0, it consists of lot of automation, lot of digitalization. All the processes are automated. So this way it will come. And recently in one of the recent communication, our CEO, on I think in 13th it was launched globally, and he stressed upon this point. Company will invest whatever possible way for digitalization, artificial intelligence, and automation of processes. So, and obviously, I mean, ours is, I mean, we have our 4,000 people working into R&D. I mean, there's a big possibility, but not in India, but maybe in our US, UK, US, and in Italy. However, for India, I mean, definitely, I mean, this technology, I mean, will change, but not in near future. Maybe 1 year down the line, or maybe 2 years down. We don't know. But however, we are day in day out talking. We are talking about technology. So we are recently yesterday we were discussing. I mean, this thermal temperature, everything is fine. But when I got shop floor, I could still see people, in cafeteria and all, together. So then I this thought gave a thought, and then we deliberated it. And there is a device coming up. I think Siemens has already, launched the device. This device will, sense, how long. I mean, if somebody comes within 1 meter, it will, beep, give a beep sound. Okay. So this Siemens has already come. And for your information, we have already discussing, since yesterday. And we will get in that technology also in our. So, for social distancing, definitely. For automation, it will definitely come. But it is a time, we'll say, I mean, how much time it will take, which geography, at which level, which percentage is differs. However, definitely technology is supposed to come here and will come in this.
Absolutely. So over to you, Mr. Subramanian, digitization at the sites, and of course, the digital transformation at the sites. And I predominantly picked it up shop floor to Mr. Kishor and sites to you is because I'm trying to get into the heart line, the heart of business, and each of these places are the heart of the business.
Sure. So the way I look at it is Keller was already in this journey of automation and digitization. Globally, we were trying to integrate a lot of our automation. We were planning to implement Dynamics 365. A lot of our equipments, we wanted to implement IoT, so we have a real-time data on its usage and maintenance and things like that. So this journey, has it stopped because of COVID? No, this journey has not stopped because of COVID. We intend to continue, but it has definitely been put on a little bit of a break. We are right now, we stopped implementation of this, but once the whole pandemic is over, people can travel, things normalize a little bit, we will restart this journey. So automation and digitization is not going to stop. One thing which I also envisage, and which we as an organization are increasingly learning to accept, is this whole technology around remote working. Now, this is something that we were not used to historically. We were so used to traveling. We were so used to meeting our colleagues. We were so used to discussing our point of views face to face. So much of that was taken for granted. We never thought we will ever reach a situation where, for me to reach out to someone is going to be through a video conferencing or a telephone only and no other way. So this is something that we are increasingly getting used to. And any technologies around this area, like I mean, our offices in APAC, a lot of them are thinking that some of the people will never go back to the office. Why not continue working from home? Like Australia has already made a decision that except in sites where people will be available, but wherever we had offices in Sydney or Melbourne, they're going to just have one office because they feel that this is working for them really well. So why should we go back to offices? So I feel that somewhere with that journey being started, India will not be too far away, where we will also probably look at, do I really need to go to pick up the bag and go to the office every day? Or can a specific percentage of my task force just work from remote location? And the reason why I say that is also there's a lot of cost saving for the company, in terms of real estate. There is going to be lesser office space required, lesser real estate space required. So this is something that has kickstarted because of COVID. I don't know if you would call it like the ability to work remotely, all the technologies involved in remote working. I think you've already seen Zoom has benefited the most because of the COVID. So these are some of the things that probably over a period of time we will see. But the routine automation and digitization that is supposed to happen, I think that is still on track. There's not been much of a change in that area.
Just to add on shop floor, you asked Sudeep, I mean, what processes are being automated. So, okay, I mean, maybe 2 years down back, I mean, the processes were manually, or it was centered and monitored at local, at local PLC control. Now, all processes, all machines are being linked with the common surveyor, okay, not only in India, but in Italy also. So, the person sitting in Italy will come to know, I mean, the machine is running at what, power efficiency, whether it is at 80%, 90%, and what issues they have. So, I mean, this way, I mean, technology is, I mean, going to reach. And then second is there are so many controls on machines. Okay? So these controls also, can be managed, and they are being, giving a better results. So I think this way on shop floor, I mean, definitely points to come.
Sure. So one very interesting question, and it's close to my heart, is what's the new role of HR? And of course, what's the newness and with respect to the challenges and etc. What's the organizations looking? What's the expectation of organizations from HR? So business continuity, fluidity in terms of the new norms, and what more, right? So we already had this, that what more HR can do even before COVID. Now COVID has changed things. So what do you think in brief? I would like to hear from you, the organizations looking forward to it, the job seekers looking from HR, and of course, HR's own thought world, as in we move stage by stage in this road of recovery. Kavita, I would like to hear from you.
I'm very passionate about my own team because I know the stress levels that, all employees are undergoing right now. But if you look at the world, I would say the world has changed, the game has changed. We have changed as we open the doors of our own houses, our offices, airports, restaurants, you name it. So maybe just about 3 or 4 points. But the first that I see is we need a new set of keys to actually open all these doors. And that is grit, determination, and patience. And it's a balance between these two that will actually define the HR persona. Now, when you say, we are in a stressed environment, and all of my panelists have also said the same, that it's a highly stressed environment. Now, for the employee, suddenly, when he views his world of work, growth is out, promotions are out, but job security as an issue is in. Buying a house is out, but good health is in. Certainty is out, uncertainty is in. So there is extreme exhaustion, and HR here has to wear the counselor's hat more often. We are definitely the community that is empathetic. We are definitely the community that has to balance both the cost lever on one side, as well as the empathy factor on the other. But I definitely see HR coming out more as counselors. And the flexibility in HR behavior is key. For us in HR, processes is like is something that we hold very dear to ourselves. And in these times, all of the processes that you may have written, and you have a policy document, and you have you hold very dear because it then goes in line with an SAP or a system, may need to be changed overnight. In line with government norms, or in line with safety, or in line with budgets, or the turnaround times have to be quicker. So flexibility is in for HR, and rigidity in behavior is actually out. I also see HR as brand ambassadors and maybe trust creators. Now, I know of a few organizations in Bombay where they said, oh, working from home, you have to keep your video on. So trust has kind of eroded, and HR here will need creators in this time period. So this is all under the bucket of stress that I can think of. Now, if I move on to reskilling for employees, what is again on all of our employees' mind today is reskilling. Everyone feels that reskilling is important. If I don't reskill myself, I may not have a job tomorrow. So again, the number one priority, as was said by another panelist sometime back on the various training and development functions and various platforms that were giving free services. We did rope in and we had very good participation on all of these online training programs. But what is important for HR or the movement will now be more towards skill development and making platforms available for employees to use these platforms to improve on their skills. The third, again, what I see with all of these suicides that are taking place and the depression that is taking place. The third, what I also see is for HR, one of the key, on an everyday basis, you have exceptions that come to you saying, we know this is the policy, but can you please look at this exception? But the mindset of employees today, and it has pushed because of COVID, there is really no place for privileges. You have the talent, you will get a fair treatment. If this is the policy for people that they have to come back to work on a certain date, it is fair treatment irrespective of what level you are. So when you are making a policy, you can't only have the discipline factor, but you need to balance both discipline as well as empathy to make sure that no one gets the better of a certain privilege, or for that matter, no one even gets the privilege of a certain government order. And the point that I also want to make is, for the first time, I have seen HR people who are good in execution and HR folks who are good in strategy being equally important. There has always been a time, when you do your performance appraisals, you turn around and say, execution is brilliant, but can improve on strategic mindset. That's the word that we always use. But COVID has actually brought to the fore that strategy is as equally important to execution, or execution, I can say, points greater in importance than strategy. When I look at HR as a function, this is the last point that actually comes to mind. The last point that I want to make on HR is I always look at HR as, when you're in a race car and you have this person who's sitting with you in the seat beside you, he has this big map. So he's the navigator. So I always look at HR as the navigator in a car race, where he's telling, the leader of the organization, go left, now take a right, now there's a bump ahead. But this pandemic has also seen HR wearing the hat, not just of the navigator, but also the entrepreneur's hat. Because when you're taking your decisions, you need to be thrifty, and you also need to educate other members the value that cash is king. So you need to balance, when you're taking your decisions, the empathy factor, the cost factor, and the privileges that need to be given in, during this time. HR is like, I think has seen a lot of hard work, has worked 24/7, but there are good points to it as well. I have seen the good part of the pandemic is collaboration. I have seen a lot of people getting closer. Gossip has also reduced. And I actually know in the team who does the work and who are the people who are just the aggregators. You call someone and he says, I will get back to you. You know that the person is just, going to collect it and give it to you. So I think there are a lot of positives to the pandemic situation as well when it comes to the HR team.
Absolutely. Great. So thanks, Kavita. Thanks for sharing your views. I think in quick time, in the paucity of the time, we have around 14 minutes. I think we have to take the questions and of the participants as well. So in one line, I would like to hear from all three of my panelists, the new role of HR. We heard in detail from Kavita. What do you think are your views? Mr. Subramanian, head HR, Keller, ground engineering. Please let us know what do you think is new.
So I think Kavita has articulated, I think, really, really well. And I think she's covered the entire spectrum of whatever. So I don't think I have anything more, except one thing that I would like to add is one of the leadership competency. In English, there's a famous saying, out of sight, out of mind. One of the our leadership teams probably need to be trained over a period of time, that your teams can be out of sight, but they should not be out of mind, because with remote working, they're not going to be seeing, they're probably going to be, virtually interacting. So there's a full chance that, leadership might make an opinion, ye kaam karta hai, ye kaam nahi karta hai, things like that, which can be very abstract. but we have to probably train them that irrespective of whether their team is whether they're physically present or not physically present, look at how can you objectively look at what they bring to the table. Apart from that, I would, like I said, since in the shortage of time, I think Kavita has summed up everything quite well. So I don't have anything much to add. Yeah.
Sure. Mr. Kishor, in quick time, what do new role of HR?
Yeah, obviously, as Kavita and Subramanian said, I will just tell upon that HR is at center.
Center. Okay.
Yeah, center. It means that, okay, anyway, it was front leader so far, it's front fighter. It has become a center. So everybody and top management will come and ask you what is to be done. Junior person will come and what is to be done. So this is an opportunity for HR. It's a center. Okay, communication to external faculty, internal communication has to be routed through this. And very recently, Pune and PCMC gave a right to HR. You issue a government passes. So HR pass is as good as government authorized pass. So I will say it is not only center for organization, but center for that area and that whole situation. So obviously, I mean, we are shouldering more and more responsibility. So even that government, local government recognizes the efforts of HR, I think. So,
Sure.
In one line, I will sum up. I mean, HR is everyone.
Sure. Mr. Kute, your views on HR?
I think Mr. Kulkarni already covered everything, but I think one point in this crisis situation, HR has to act as a strong advocate of employees in this situation. When company come pressure of right sizing the people, that time we should strong advocate. This time will go up. We need to retain our resources. That's the point. Advocacy we need to do more in as HR. Balance everything. See covered. I don't think.
Sure. Great. So I think it brings us to something which is interesting. I mean, as I say, it's round robin kind of, it's a rapid fire questions, right? So not a laboratory, but then I'm not going to put too difficult questions. I'm going to put some of the interesting questions. And I think then we will take up the questions of the panelists. So how much time pre-COVID situations, pre-COVID business environments, pre-COVID weekends, pre-COVID kind of a scenario, how much time do you think it will take? 2 quarters, 3 quarters? Mr. Kenche, why don't we start with you?
You mean, I mean, how long this situation will go on?
Yeah, how long it will take for us to see pre-COVID kind of situations?
Oh, I think, I mean, it is not in weeks or so. Please talk in months. Okay, for at least our geography, I mean, Pune and Mumbai. So please not be so optimistic. Let us accept the fact. Okay, and let us not assume anything.
Okay.
Not sure. Okay.
Mr. Subramanian, your views?
Yeah, quickly. So my view is that, we immediately after the lockdown was over, because of the fact that we come under essential construction, so things moved back. So we did not really have to put our business on hold, fortunately. However, I have to ask, if answer your question in terms of other aspects like, traveling, social distancing, a lot depends on when the vaccines come out, how successful the vaccines have been. Once we are all assured that this is just another flu, because earlier we used to have this flu shots and people were back to being normal because people were not scared. The same situation.
So you're saying it's going to be much longer than 2 weeks, 3
yes.
weeks? Whatever.
Once we
quarters, not weeks. Of course, it's going to be much longer than 2 quarters or 3 quarters. Kavita, your views?
Okay, I've just looked at the crystal ball and I'm going to give you my views. So I am an eternal optimistic, and I would definitely see maybe by Q3 or at least end of Q3, things should definitely improve, if not earlier, because in the sentiments of, whether it is the National Stock Exchange or the BSE or in the auto sector, Diwali is a big festival for all of us, but I wouldn't really, give a certain date, but definitely by the year end, I would see a lot of changes that we would foresee, definitely for sure. At least there would be, as they say, green shoots coming up on larger hectares of land. Sure.
Mr. Kute, pre-COVID kind of growth and business growth. So how much time do you think it will take?
I think, see, fortunately, we are in the way of coming up with new models. So for us, it is a good time. Unfortunate part for the COVID, but for us, it's a fortunate time because we are late already bringing our new model. So it's a good time. So I think for us, as an industry, we can look for a 6-month time. So maybe
6 months
middle of
time.
quarter. Yeah.
Sure. So my next question is, would there be in lesser jobs in the next 12 months?
Yes.
Mr. Subramanian, a quick answer. Do you think there will be a lesser jobs in the next 12 months?
Yes, it will be a little bit, the economy will shrink a little bit. We have seen a reduction in our business volumes, but that's also because the government and we work with government quite a bit, and a lot of government projects have gone on hold temporarily in terms of making decision. So the decision making is slow, and that's why there will be a little bit of, slowdown. But I think by the next end of the next quarter or 2 quarters from now, I think I think all of this will come back to normal.
Okay, great. Kavita, my next question is to you. Do you think the average wages will go down? The average wages will go down?
Look at the officers or the staff category, the average wages may stay the same, but it will not go down. But what I definitely see, Sudeep, is different models coming up as far as payment or compensation is concerned. I know of many organizations who are saying, you want to work from home? Yes, you can go ahead. Your work permits you to work from home. But if you work from home, there is a certain, there's a different band to salary. Just like saying it's going to be a 20% lesser than what the average salary is. But for me, it's a positive because that would mean I'm enlarging my base of candidates to choose from. And I'm also giving opportunities to folks only in the roles which allows you to work independently under certain guidance or certain instructions, which is going to allow me to reach to the interiors or across national borders to provide such opportunities. But is the average wage going to come down? It might remain stagnant, pretty much like the housing industry, where the sales may have dropped, but the rates are very much the same. So I would say the salary would very much remain, the medians would very much remain the same, but there would be a drop maybe in hiring with opportunities for internal folks to take up additional roles.
Yeah. Sure. So the next question to you, Mr. Kishor, is that do you see that a certain percentage of your workforce will permanently work from home?
Answer is yes. Okay.
Okay.
There are 2-3 options because of 2-3 situations. One is that we are a core manufacturing company, and we will have we have decided, or there is some functions like finance, HR, or maybe purchase, some percentage. I will say not permanently, but percentage will be vary because we have decided maybe 30% at office and 70% at home, and then staggered. There will be staggered. Some people will come on staggered day. So this situation will go on, and there will be some position. Maybe permanently you can't say, but like all my top management, we have decided. I mean, because at least they will, at least my colleagues will work from home, and at 80% you can say more or less.
Sure. Okay. My last question for this session would be to Mr. Kute. Do you see an antibiotic reaction to any arrangement which is permanent in nature, and organizations will look for more fluidity as in temporary in nature? It could be in terms of staffs, it could be in terms of office leases, or it could be in terms of any other investments, which of course takes a longer time for returns. Do you think organizations will look for more temporary arrangements?
Yeah, definitely. Our organization definitely look for the temporary arrangement in such situation. But it totally again depends on how situation moves. Again, we'll wait for 1 to 2 months how situation comes up, because now the further developments are happening and news are coming that things will get normalized and all. So certain things are hold, but definitely we look for, if things not get improved, then temporary arrangement we need to look in other options.
Okay. So I think we have got a good number of questions. So I'm going to read out those questions and kind of get into answering them. So one of the question is been placed by Mr. Durga Prasanna. Are companies doing anything specific? Are companies doing anything specific to stimulate the demand segment of the economy Already government has ruled out a lot of financial stimulus packages for supply side of the economy. Unless there is a demand, we will continue to get stagnant. So is there any specific, which is with respect to the demand sector? What do you think is your view, Mr. Subramanian?
See, it is right now, of course, we have to wait for the stimulus. We've heard of the stimulus package, but have you seen the full impact of stimulus? I am not too sure as yet. Have the decision making from the government, because we work a lot with the government on a lot of our projects. Has the government's started making, and this is exactly what I told a few minutes back, that we are seeing a little bit of slow down, because a lot of our projects are on hold because the government has not making decisions to release funds, release new projects. So while on one side we are hearing about stimulus, I've not seen the full impact of stimulus as yet. I mean, it is not something. The migrants are still going back to their home locations, and we'll have to look at ways to get them back to the city, and that is possible only when the economy picks up in full swing. At this moment, there is a little bit of a slowdown, which is going to be predicted for this quarter. And I think the full impact of it will be seen only by the beginning of next quarter, when things normalize a little bit.
Okay. So the next question I'll take it up with Kavita. I think you were talking in terms on this subject as well. So this is with respect to work from home. So in fact, we have questions from both the sectors. We have questions from the HR fraternity and of course from the employees sector as well. So the question is that how to ensure that the efficiency of employees are consistent when they do a work from home. And typically their mention is consistent across the days, which means a Monday to a Friday, one. Second is employees have put forth that the number of hours of work has increased, which is in work from home, but somehow they have not been able to channelize the number of work that has been done, because I think that the outcome is the only thing that is getting looked after. So in such a scenario, how do you think both sides will act on the work from home aspects?
This is quite it's a often debated subject nowadays, work from home. So what I'm going to say is, these are my personal views, nothing related to the organizations that I have worked. But in my experience of close to 3 decades, there is a certain amount of social capital that one can build on. And the first time I heard this word was when Narayan Murthy tweeted about it about 3 or 4 months back. And I actually went on Wikipedia to look on what is the meaning of social capital. And you need to be able to live in a hybrid model, work a little bit from home, and then come back to office for those interactions and discussions to actually take place. Now, if you don't have those interactions and discussions, you are seated in a place thinking in your mind what you're doing is completely right, and maybe coming on a call in the morning and coming on a call again in the evening to get to the outcome that is expected. But debates, discussions, innovative thoughts, design thinking, all of these can happen only when you are seated in a group. Can all of the jobs be done from home? I don't think today India is in a position for all of the jobs to be done from home. Today, when you have Zoom or when you have the Teams as apps, they will only enable you to a certain extent. But what is missing is, when I'm speaking to my teams, there is a whiteboard, and then you kind of draw on the whiteboard for as an example, and then they get it. But when you're on Teams, you try to do the same thing, but it takes a little longer because you have to give an opportunity for everyone to speak. So the reason of working extended hours, one of the reasons is this. But when you are together in a team, the debates are much faster, and you are willing to listen to the other person, before you implement. Again, as an example, when you are working in an office, if you get stuck somewhere, you can run up to your boss to say, okay, this is what I'm doing and I'm kind of stuck. Is this right or is this wrong? But again, when you are working from home in a remote situation, you really can't do that. You have to pick up the phone. If it's engaged, you have to keep down, then you have to share your screen, then you have to explain what the work is, so on and so forth. Now, these are very tactical issues that I'm speaking about. But work from home will definitely come one day. It is already here. You have two organizations, both very large IT organizations, which have different views. One of them says maybe 80% of the population can work anywhere between 20 to 80% of their time work from home. There's another organization that says, an IT organization again, that says we are ready, and in 2025, 80% of our folks can definitely work from home. Now, these views, for them to kind of gel, we again have to focus on IT. If IT is able to give us a platform for productivity measurement and improvement while folks actually sit at home, then I think we should be able to get there very soon.
The only one small input that I had, like, I think one of the reason that question probably came up is also the stress and fatigue that this work from home is creating for people. And that's because it's becoming very difficult to draw a line. When you're working in an office, you pack off, you leave for the day, and then the remaining part of the evening is yours. But when you're working from home, there's a meeting at about 7 o'clock, and you end up accepting it and getting into that meeting. And that the lines between when do you log off, when do you log in, are blurring a little bit, and that is causing the stress and fatigue. But I think that will change in a little while. One of the reasons is possibly because there's you cannot go out, there's so many restrictions, so sometimes people just end up working because there's nothing else to do, because you cannot just do anything else. You cannot go out, you cannot go to a movie, you cannot but I think a lot of this will get sorted in a little time. In the next few weeks, it will be fine. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take the next question. Sure, Kavita.
Sorry. No, just to respond to Subbu, actually, I loved what Google did. I think May 22nd, they gave everybody off only because of fatigue due to work from home.
Yes.
I don't know how many other organizations do that, but I loved it when I kind of read it. I said an entire day off only because of the fatigue, because we've lost sense of time. Sunday, there were times when people at home would say, "Hey, today's Sunday, you don't have to." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, today's Sunday." So you actually have lost time.
Sunday is not different from Monday.
Yeah.
Great. So my next question, which I think is come out as a common thing, and I would like to place this to Mr. Kishor Kenche. What does the job seekers, now today if you see, job seekers is a bucket of 3-4 people who apparently have lost jobs, people who are actually sitting on a notice period, and of course there are people who are freshers or probably who have not worked ever. Everybody today is looking for a job. So there were norms like there will be an interview, people will go for the interview, there will be a freshness to it, they will go out, meet people, and there is a new freshness that used to come. I think there used to be motivation and etc. used to come from there itself, right? But that's not happening today. So how would job seekers of different quantum, people who have lost it or people who are going to work, in due course of time lose it, and the fresh job seekers, how would they keep them motivated?
Yeah, one thing is, what you say is that, yes, there will be actual feel of, attending interview and getting, learning what is all happening. That feel definitely is missing for sure. However, for us, it has been a very common phenomena for quite some time. Okay, because we are, we have been conducting interview on Skype, like the business Skype and all. It is a common phenomena. However, in certain cases, whenever it is required, we call candidate in person. So partially, it is already been happening without COVID. Okay. However, now bifurcating in between fresh and experienced people, yes, there is a some benefit to the experienced people, because we are working on virtual basis. So I can't take an risk of hiring fresh people. So there is a small risk, because, and then second is availability. So the availability of the market is more, and then yes, there's a risk taking the fresh people. However, as a policy, we have kind of GAT policy and all, so that will keep on going for sure. And we have done it, this GAT hiring through virtual process completely in May. So that will not stop. But however, for senior position or maybe, as a regular position, we will definitely, we will hire experienced people. And second, about feeling is 50-50%, I'll say, because even we hired a DGM level, GM level person only on, virtual interview. So I don't think so. This will impact a lot. But yes, there is a disadvantage with fresh people. If you ask me, the kind of feel we will get it one person.
Sure.
Then we are losing.
Great. Mr. Subramanian, your views, how would the job seekers of multiple buckets keep themselves motivated?
The motivation, again, like I said, there's something called a self-motivation, and there's something called the organization, which can extend, what organization is doing. I think we've already covered that in bits and, in bits and pieces and through different questions about what different steps organizations are taking to engage with their employees, what learning opportunities, what reskilling opportunities, some of that. But like I said, these are tough times. These are unprecedented times. Everybody is also going through it for the first time. I think all of us sitting in this panel have gone through something like this for the first time. So I can understand, that if there is a demotivation, some amount of self-motivation is also required. And I think that is something that, whoever is listening to this should probably also think through. I think Kavita already brought up the importance of mental health, and we can probably, organization can also offer counselors, but keeping your motivation alive during these difficult times, a certain amount is also your own. You also have to make that effort.
Sure. Great. So I think that brings to the end of the panel discussion today. Thanks to all the panelists and all the participants. It's a journey that we had started, and the idea is to get the perspective of each industry. And we have done certain sessions where we have got a mix of industries. We have looked for adjacencies. The idea is to get together in a platform where each one of you express that what has been the experiences and what are the steps that is getting taken as a route to recovery. And of course, on the other side, the employees who are working in multiple organizations here and learn from the experts like you, and of course, the vast experience that you bring into the table.
Sure.
So thanks to all of you.
Yeah.
And it has been a privilege and great pleasure to be connecting and asking and learning from you and of course getting to know your experiences.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your
so
time.
Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Subbu, and thank you, Kishor. And thank you, Mr. Kute.
Yeah. Thank you. Pleasure.
Thanks to all the panelists. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.